Have you ever noticed that some of the strongest people are also the ones who struggle the most to ask for help? We often admire people who seem to have it all together. The ones who never rely on anyone, never complain, and somehow carry every burden on their own. Especially as women, we're often praised for being capable, resilient, and fiercely independent. And while there's absolutely nothing wrong with those qualities, in fact, they're qualities I've always admired, but I started wondering something. When does strength stop being healthy and start becoming a survival mechanism? Because I don't think independence and hyper independence are the same thing. Being independent means you can stand on your own, while being hyper independent means you feel like you have to. And those are two completely different mindsets. Hyper independence isn't just about paying your own bills or enjoying your own company, it's feeling uncomfortable receiving help. And it's believing that if you don't do everything yourself, you're somehow failing. Hi, my name is Chelsea and welcome to Chelsea Comes True. This is the very first video on this channel and some of you may know me from other channels, but this space is going to be a little bit different. I want this space to be where we have honest conversations about psychology, relationships, faith, healing, and the questions that challenge the way we think. Not because I have all the answers, but because I believe asking better questions often leads us closer to the truth. So if you're here from the beginning, thank you. I'm genuinely grateful that you're here. My concern about being a hyper independent woman is how we often attract people who want to be taken care of because we naturally overfunction. Other times, we attract controlling people who see our independence as a challenge. Or we attract emotionally unavailable partners because we ourselves struggle with vulnerability. Of course, not every hyper independent woman experiences this. These patterns are, I think, common enough to be worth examining. So where does hyper independence come from? Definitely isn't something people are born with. It's something that we learn. Perhaps we grew up in a home where asking for comfort led to disappointment. Maybe we learned that adults couldn't be relied upon, and maybe promises were constantly broken, and maybe love was conditional. And also maybe expressing emotions resulted in criticism. And maybe we had to become the responsible one far too early. One of the things I find most fascinating about trauma is that it doesn't always make people look broken. Sometimes it creates incredibly capable people. People who are dependable, successful, responsible, the person everyone calls when there's a crisis, the friend who always knows what to do, the woman who seems like she has everything together. Everyone admires her strength, but very few people stop to ask, what did it cost her to become this strong? Maybe it cost her the ability to trust. Maybe it cost her the freedom to rest. Hyper-independent people are often the first to help everyone else. They're generous, reliable, always available, but when someone asks them, how can I help you? They almost do not know how to answer. Not because they don't need support, but because receiving support feels unfamiliar. And that's something I can relate to because I'm also a very independent woman, but I wonder sometimes, am I independent or am I hyper independent? People sometimes assume that I don't want a man in my life, and that couldn't be further from the truth. It's not that I don't want a partner, it's that I don't want just any partner. And there is a huge difference. And I'm not looking for someone to rescue me, but I'm also not looking for someone who expects me to rescue them. I'm not looking for someone who wants to control me because my independence makes him uncomfortable. And I'm also not looking for someone who only takes while I continue giving. I'm looking for a partnership, someone whose strengths complement mine, just as mine complement his. And someone who celebrates my independence instead of competing with it. Someone who understands that love isn't about keeping score. It's about walking alongside each other. And I think this is where a lot of independent women are misunderstood. When we have standards, People sometimes hear, she doesn't need a man. No, what we're actually saying is, I'd rather wait for the right partner than settle for the wrong one. Because peace is better than control, and peace is better than carrying a relationship by yourself, and peace is better than shrinking who you are just to make someone else feel or look bigger. What I've also come to realize is that independence itself isn't the problem. In fact, I think independence is a gift. It's a blessing to know that you can take care of yourself, and it's empowering to know that your happiness doesn't depend entirely on another person. And it's incredibly important, especially for women, to have the freedom to leave unhealthy situations if necessary. So this isn't an argument against independence. It's an invitation to ask ourselves a different question. Has my independence become so extreme that I've stopped allowing people to love me? Because there is a subtle difference between healthy boundaries and emotional walls. Healthy boundaries say, I know who I can trust. Walls say, I trust no one. Healthy boundaries protect you. Walls isolate you. Healthy boundaries allow the right people to come closer. Walls keep everyone at a distance, including the people who genuinely care about you. And if you've been hurt before, those walls make sense, and they probably protected you. But healing sometimes means recognizing that these strategies, which once kept us safe, may no longer be helping us grow. Sometimes the very thing that protected us yesterday becomes the thing that keeps us lonely today. I know that's not an easy thought to sit, because with being vulnerable is risky, and people can and will disappoint us at some point. They can betray our trust, they can leave, but here's something else that is also true. Not everyone will. And if we never give trustworthy people the opportunity to know us, we'll never experience the kind of relationships we say we want. Whether that's a friendship, a marriage, a family, or even a deeper relationship with God. Real connection always requires some degree of vulnerability. And being vulnerable isn't a weakness. It's courage. I think one of the greatest misconceptions we've inherited is that strength means never needing anyone. But if you think about it, none of us were designed that way. We all need encouragement. We all need wisdom. We all need community. Even the strongest people need a place where they don't have to be strong all the time. And maybe real strength isn't carrying every burden by yourself. And maybe real strength is knowing which burdens are yours to carry and which ones you're allowed to share. Not hyper independence, but two healthy people choosing to support each other without losing themselves. It's being capable enough to stand on your own, but humble enough to receive help when it's offered. It's saying, I can do this alone, instead of, I have to do this alone. And I think that one word changes everything. Can instead of have to. One comes from freedom, the other comes from fear. As I was reflecting on all of this, one Bible verse kept coming to mind. In 2 Corinthians 12:9, God says, My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. I love that verse because it completely turns our idea of strength upside down. The world often tells us to hide our weaknesses, to prove that we don't need anyone, to keep pushing, keep performing, keep carrying everything on our own. But God says something different. He reminds us that His strength is revealed not when we pretend to have it all together, but when we're honest enough to admit that we don't. And maybe that's true in our relationships too. And maybe allowing ourselves to be seen, to be supported, to be loved isn't weakness at all. Maybe it's one of the strongest things we'll ever do. So if there is one thought I'd love to leave you with, is this: being independent is absolutely a wonderful thing, but don't let independence become a prison. Don't become so good at surviving that you forget how to receive. And don't become so strong that no one ever gets the chance to stand beside you. And don't let past disappointments convince you that everyone will hurt you. The right people won't ask you to become smaller. They won't be threatened by your strength, and they won't need you to carry them. And they won't make you carry everything alone. They'll walk beside you. And maybe that's what we're all looking for. Not somebody complete us, not someone to save us, but someone willing to walk alongside us. And I think that's a beautiful place to begin. Thank you so much for spending this time with me. If this conversation resonated with you, I genuinely love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Have you ever struggled with hyper-independence? Or have you realized that what looked like strength was actually self-protection? Let's have a respectful conversation below because I'd really love to hear your perspective. And if you enjoy thoughtful conversations like this about psychology, relationships, faith, healing, and personal growth, I hope you'll consider subscribing. This is a brand new channel and I'll be sharing a new video at least once or twice a week. I'd love for you to join me on this journey. Until next time, take care of yourselves and don't be afraid to let the right people take care of you too. Love you.